Hello, my name is Putkonen. Thank you for joining me. Today's topic is don't let your concepts become obstacles. Now, we hold our concepts and beliefs pretty tightly. And if something is very contrary to it, we tend to defend ourselves from it. And we go, that's not right. And we try to dismiss it. Now, let's try this experiment as a case in point. First, we'll look at this. 1 plus 1 equals 2. If anybody said 1 plus 1 equals 2, I'm sure you wouldn't disagree. Everyone has learned this from an early age. But what about this one? Now, initially, there might be that's not right. But it's simple enough where I think a lot of people will also go, I get it. You're just taking a 1 and 1 and slapping them together and forming 11. So 1 plus 1 equals 11. Yep, cute. A lot of people would just go, oh, I get it. But what about this one? 1 plus 1 equals 0. If someone one day said 1 plus 1 equals 0, I'm sure a lot of people would immediately push back, go, well, 1 plus 1 could never equal 0. It's got to equal more than 1. And instead of trying to understand what is presented, instead, what is being presented is dismissed as wrong. And instead, you're holding on to the belief and concept of 1 plus 1 equals 2. And so, in holding on to this concept and believing 1 plus 1 equals 2, it becomes very difficult to see how 1 plus 1 could equal 0. Now, if you ponder this a while and noodle it over, it may dawn on you, may not. I think a lot of mathematicians would get this because this is mod or modulo to arithmetic. And so zeros are considered even and ones are considered odd. And so a odd plus odd equals even. So 1 plus 1 equals 0. And that's how they write it when they use mod to arithmetic. Now, what about this last one? This one, I'm not going to give you the answer. This one you have to ponder. Try to look outside the box. Get past your assumptions, your beliefs, your concepts. Try to figure out how this can be true. Because this is a true statement. All of these are true statements in terms of 1 plus 1 equals whatever is being shown. And so instead of just hearing or receiving this information and saying it's right or wrong, and then if you think it's wrong, tossing it, you have to actually consider it, ponder it, try to understand it, look more deeply. And this is something we have to do in all things, and particularly non-duality. We are going to be presented ideas, statements all the time, and they'll, as if, basically as if they're true, and they very well may be true. But if our belief, concepts, or assumptions are otherwise, it is going to be very, very tempting to just dismiss it as, oh, that's wrong. Or you may see conflicting statements and go, well, these are opposite statements, so how could these be true? But then again, this is like the 1 plus 1 scenario. If 1 plus 1 equals 2, 1 plus 1 equals 0, 1 plus 1 equals 11, people will hear this and go, well, how could this be 0 and 2 at the same time? I don't get it. And as I said, ones are normal math that we're all used to. The other one's mod 2. If it's 11, it's just adding strings. You have to look past the initial apparent contradiction to try to understand what lies behind it, because it all actually could be equal. And that's why in non-duality, a lot of times you may hear two opposing statements. And people will go, well, that's impossible. How could it be both? And a lot of people like just dismissing it. They go, well, it's all, hogwash. It doesn't make sense. It's, how could it be nothing and everything? How could it be, this, that, or the other thing? And all it is a gripping onto your current assumptions, beliefs, and concepts, and refusing to doubt them, refusing to look at what's presented and try to understand how that may be true too. And that is an interesting exercise, is how that may be true too. Because a lot of times people will be in arguments and things like that. And a lot of times, it could be semantics, it could be a minor point of view, but they both may be arguing from things that seem to add up. They just don't realize they're both correct because they're gripping onto their viewpoint and refusing to see it from the other point of view, in which case it very well may be true. I mean, if you look at the list again, 1 plus 1 is 2, 1 plus 1 is 11, 1 plus 1 is 0, 1 plus 1 is 10. I mean, how does this work? And these arguments could be going on which it really equals. And it could equal all, depending on context. It all depends on the context. Which base are you using? And so, something to think about is don't let your concepts and assumptions become an obstacle. Don't hold on to them so tightly that you can't put them to the side or try to think outside the box and look past them to see how an apparent opposing point of view may be correct as well. It could be 2, it could be 0. Both are true. What is the context? And that requires a much deeper understanding. A deeper understanding on what is really being said. And that deeper understanding will never happen if you're holding on to your own belief and assumption that 1 plus 1 can only equal 2, and so you are dismissing any other number that's presented to you. Anyway, something to think about. If you got any questions, comments, please post below. I encourage you to subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications so that way you're notified of future videos. But until next time, thank you much.